Is it sinful for Christians to accept awards at award shows? And let's talk about just general creator advice from VidSummit this year, which me and Matt just came back from. So there's a lot to talk about today on GodMade. Almost political Christian news coming from Forrest Frank today. Let's start there. Let's talk about, is it okay for Christians to accept awards?
Well, first of all, let me take a nice sip from my GodMade mug. That's really good. Sorry. I'm the king of cheese, so this is my cheese moment there. I wanted to talk to you guys today about this whole thing that happened over the last couple of weeks. Now, this episode's going to come out a little bit later, and who knows what's happened since then. But in my industry, the Christian music industry, we had the Dove Awards, which happens once a year in October. And it's kind of the one time, it's like our version of the Grammys. And it's where we give awards out to, now it's giving awards out to Christian films and media and video projects, as well as music, primarily music.
They have to fight the Caleb Awards in order for the best spot.
Well, Caleb is just as big as the Dove Awards, and maybe even bigger, actually. But so what went down, and Forrest Frank has kind of been in the news this whole year for various different things. You know, he broke his back, and then he wrote a song about it, which became a huge hit. And then other people wrote songs parodying the concepts, and he sort of got upset on social media for that. Well, he decides, I think like a few days before the Dove Awards, that he is not going to attend the Dove Awards, and he's not going to accept any other awards, not just the Dove Awards, but I think he also said the Grammys.
Yeah.
And he had his reasons for that, was that he didn't just believe that Christians should he didn't feel comfortable accepting
his own convictions.
His own conviction. He wasn't judging people for accepting awards, but for his own conviction, he felt that was not something he wanted to do. And I get that. I completely understand that conviction. My problem with it, because I work in the music industry, is several-fold. Number one, I believe that all of the other people that work in our industry, my wife's a songwriter. She writes songs for a lot of these artists and with a lot of these artists and churches, et cetera, that are releasing music. They work really hard, and this is kind of their one time to celebrate. And it gives us an opportunity to celebrate each other's successes and wins. And it's not just the artists that are getting rewarded or awarded. It's the record labels and all the people that work at these record companies. It's the songwriters and all the songs that are being written. It's the crew that goes on behind the scenes, the producers, the musicians, the bus drivers for the tours, and everybody from top down that supports this industry. At one point during the Dove Awards, Torrin Wells asked everyone to stand up in the Bridgestone Arena, which holds about 10,000 people, to stand up. And there were probably about 4,000 people that stood up and said, if you're involved in this industry in some way, capacity, and getting paid in this industry, please stand up. And we had about 4,000 people stand up just in that room. So there's a lot of people involved in this. And this is, it's just important to take once a year to celebrate. So that's one part of it that I had an issue with. The second, and I think is, and I'd love to hear your, it's not just me doing a monologue here. I'd love to hear your opinions about it. But the second one was how it was handled. Now, I understand that Forrest Frank has that conviction. But to me, if I was advising him and I was his manager or somebody who had an influence with him, I would have said, listen, I love that conviction, but what I would say is focus on how am I going to honor everyone involved? What's the best approach to honor people? And I think the best way would have been, since it was so late in the game, go ahead, do the awards. You won Artist of the Year. They had to pull the Artist of the Year award, which is the biggest award, and move it to the pre-show. And they just announced it on the show. They had to move a bunch of stuff last minute. Think about all the stress that putting on an event like that and having to move all of that last minute. The more honoring thing would have been accept the award, do the thing, but then next year, don't put your name in the hat. Don't even you don't have to be even considered to be nominated.
Really?
So yeah.
How does that work? Do you you have to say, hey, I want to be?
Yeah. Your record label or your manager puts your name in, and then you are considered as on the initial list, and then it gets whittled down because we're voting members, and so we vote early on, and we see thousands of names of people for Artist of the Year, and and they'll pick the top 20, and of the 20, then you vote again until it gets down to the bottom 7 or something like that. So that's kind of how that works. So don't even submit your name next year. Just take yourself out of it completely. Yeah. And then at least you're honoring your conviction, but you're also honoring the people.
Is he independent or is he with a label?
Independent.
He's independent, but he has label and distribution partnerships with a major.
Gotcha.
So otherwise he wouldn't get the kind of attention he would be getting. So he has partners, and he has major management and all of that. So yeah, so that can all be handled in a different way.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I just see obviously his manager and his label and stuff are going to want him to have these awards and to go in front of people, and obviously it's great for his brand. Okay. You want to start on this, Matt? Maybe you have. I have a lot to say about this. I just had a meeting with, I don't know if I want to share his name, but I just had coffee with a very prominent director in the space who had a lot of thoughts about this. So
cool.
Yeah.
No, I think so. I appreciate what Forrest Frank is doing for Christian music in general. There's more people listening to Christian music than ever before. I think it's a good question that people in the industry need to wrestle with. Everything we've talked about it here, making money. That's not inherently bad, but it can become a pitfall. Even Jelly Roll commented on Forrest's video, basically implying, well, you don't want to take an award, but you're willing to take the check. The money that you're making off of the name of Jesus. And so those are things that we need to wrestle with as believers when art and commerce and faith all collide. Those conversations need to be in our mind all the time of staying true to what you're called to. And when it comes to the awards, I agree with you, Eric. At a certain point, just don't be a part of it, and do it gracefully. But when you're the biggest thing in Christian music, it's going to cause a stir.
Yeah.
And I do think that there are a lot of pitfalls for artists. So I met an independent artist this week who intentionally does not want to go on tour because he doesn't like the idea of being on stage because he knows his own heart. And so this is something that any Christian film, entertainment, anything that mirrors culture and society, music, movies, that's stuff that we need to be wrestling with. Of our souls were not meant to have other people worship us. And we can't control on how people look up to us. I think of Jonathan Rumi in The Chosen. That's a totally different dynamic, but you're celebrity, but also a biblical celebrity.
Yeah.
And so, but for all these Christian artists, I think a lot, I don't want to say a lot, but when he says he's not going, it implies that if you're going, you're bad. I don't think that's not the case. That's how it can come across. And I don't think that was Forrest's intent either. The beauty that I love about Forrest is he followed his own convictions. Now we live in this weird world where everyone has a microphone and they can share every decision that they're making to the whole world. So again, when you're the biggest thing in Christian music and you say, I'm not going to do that, it implies, well, it's bad. Well, it can be bad, but to your point, it can also be a God-honoring act to go and celebrate people who are creating art that is drawing people closer to Jesus. And so we should applaud that, but we should also know what are the pitfalls.
Right.
Once we start idolizing people and giving awards, the Dove Awards just launched, the Gospel Music Association just launched a museum, to honor the legacy of Christian creators, Christian music creators, the gospel music creators throughout the day. And we know, like, the Bible verses of, like, this stuff is here on earth and it's going to rot. So, like, that museum, those things, like, that's not your legacy. Like, what we care about is our eternal time. But I do think there's a great value of, like, honoring where this came from. I mean, I know how Christian music has impacted me. And I want to go to that museum and see it. And it's not that I'm going to be worshiped. It's not Mecca, you know.
Yeah.
It is a chance for me to go, wow, I'm so thankful for people who went before me, because it planted seeds of faith in my life. And so it's that balance of, like, idolization and honoring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but you guys are just music industry plants. Like, you know, I can't listen to anything you're saying, okay? Let me break this down in the way that I understand it. So there's two sides, right? There's the side of, okay, I'm totally on Forrest's side. This is just his personal conviction, and anybody else that is against him in this, they're just being convicted themselves, and they're in the wrong. They know they're in the wrong. They're just being convicted. This is the huge narrative that I've seen online. Then the other side of it is, like, okay, whatever, Forrest can say whatever he wants, but there's consequences that come with it, number one. And number two, why would he do this in this way? Why does he have to make this huge announcement? Why does he have to do all this? Like, that makes no sense, right? So I can see both sides. I'll tell you the honest truth for me is that my very first reaction was, okay, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. That was my first reaction. Because then you need to not talk about Paul or Peter or any of the writers of the Gospels or any of the authors of the Bible. Like, all of these people are just men as well. They don't need to have awards, right? Because that's the implication, like you're saying. The implication is, I'm not going to do this because I think it's sinful or I think it's bad, right? Yeah, sure. It is personal conviction, but the implication is, if I'm not going to do this, everybody shouldn't do this.
Right,
you know?
right,
If he really truly thinks that God doesn't want him to do that, then the implication is it's bad for everybody, right? Which is how everybody's taking it. Which is why people are like talking about, you know, Eric, you're just being convicted because you don't agree, right? But I think it's silly. We think of, like, the writer of Hebrews, for example. He has this hall of faith. Right? Yeah, he talks about all these people within the scriptures that have this huge, profound impact on what has happened in the story of God, right? In the story of Jesus. And then he talks about their shortcomings, and he talks about what happened with them. And that's part of, like, a museum like this too, right? Is talking about what worked and what didn't work, and the failures and the things that are building up. And I think all of that is important, right? Do I think that we need Jelly Roll and Brandon Lake underneath a waterfall? Maybe not, you know?
I totally agree with you on that. It was totally extreme. I was feeling bad for them. First of all, it must have been cold up there. And then you got this waterfall, and I was cold just looking at them.
But let me do the opposite of that is we'll be quick to say, oh, Christian music, Christian media is cheesy, but then Christian media does something that reflects culture. Like, again, how much are we taking from culture? Like, we should be doing something. Because I'm sure that they're not the first people to have rain falling on the stage in an award show, right? Yeah, I haven't really thought about that. I've seen the comments. It is a little weird to, like, do a worship song, and I think historically when there's rain falling on stage, it hasn't been a worship song. You know, it's been a different context of a little more sultry, and
there was more sexiness to it.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Sure. And I didn't. Yeah, I'm glad they were wearing black instead of white.
You didn't get the sexiness from Jelly Roll.
We're talking about awards. So, like, again, if, like, in the YouTube space, the creator space, you hit 100,000 subscribers, you get a plaque.
Yeah.
Now, it's not the same. I'm not, you know, you get that, you're not going on stage. But I know it's in the creator culture, when you get that, people share that to social media and are excited.
Yeah.
Now, there can be an element, like, that's become an idol. Like, I'm going to do anything to get that 100,000 subscribers so I can get that silver play button. Or it could be, man, what a testament to God's faithfulness.
Yeah.
He's grown my channel, and I've reached millions, you know, by the grace of God. And this is just one little token of
This is what this means
saying
to me.
this is like a milestone. This is a marker.
Yeah.
And it gives you authority as well.
It does,
right?
totally.
Like, especially for someone, let's say you're an artist in the Christian space. Let's say you're a Joseph O'Brien, or you're a who's the kid that does Barabbas?
Josiah Queen.
Josiah Queen, yeah. So, like, he's an up and comer,
Yep.
right? He was at the Dove Awards, right? He's not gonna miss that, because why? He's a newer sort of voice in the space over the last few years,
Yeah.
and he is if he were to win an Artist of the Year or an award like that, it would be huge for his career and it would be huge for his reach for the kingdom. You know, I agree that like Forrest Frank is just in a position right now where he can say no to money. He
doesn't need it.
Where he can say no to awards. Where he can say no to whatever he wants, which maybe is where he wants to be, and that's whatever. But I don't think you can create, which is maybe not his creation, but everybody that's responding to its creation of, okay, then the Dove Awards are bad.
Right.
You know,
right.
I don't think you can create that type of environment from someone who is in that position because it's totally unfair for him to go last year and to take his award and, okay, I'm wrestling with it, whatever. But then to go home to his millions of dollars and you know, be able to fall on a skateboard on his Ring camera, like, you know, like that sort of stuff is like, he obviously has a lot of, I hate using this word, but a lot of privilege in the space that he's in right now.
So, and then this just happened, I think yesterday. So Jelly Rolled comments on his post about, hey, you know, trying to counter back, like, you're making all this money on Christian music in the name of Jesus. And then Forrest just replied back. Again, this is a weird world we live in. Like conversations that
he's had this multiple times with multiple
like,
issues. Right.
I think there's beauty in a way that we, if they're handling it the way they are, and like this is how we engage as Christians. But again, it's kind of weird to be having these public conversations. But Forrest's most recent post was about, I make a lot of money off of this, and how he shared that he's wrestled with making money on the name of Jesus and then the quote Christian music industry. And then he kind of counters and goes, you don't know what I do with that money when it comes in. Am I keeping 10% or 90%? You know? And so, what are your thoughts on that?
When Brandon smiles.
It's just like I understand making money, right? I make above the average household income for America, right? Or for the US. I think probably all three of us do, right? However, it's like, where's that line then? You know, are you telling me I can make $99,000 in a year, or can I make $999,000 in a year before I'm sinful? You know,
I think
what does that mean?
Forrest's take is that yes, he's making a lot of money. He acknowledges it.
Yeah.
But then what is he using it for? Like, is he giving 90% to nonprofit causes? Sure. He leaves it like he says, I'm never going to tell you how much I'm giving and keeping, you know, which is the way it should be. And so, I don't know if it necessarily makes Jelly Rolls quite, I don't know. It's very interesting. I mean,
to me, that brings up the whole question of, should we even be having these discussions?
That's exactly where I was going to go next. Yeah.
And I think we should, because I think we need to have our conscience pricked like every once in a while, because we also know that there's people in any industry that is labeled Christian that take advantage and are of bad intent. So I think that we need to be sharpened and going, all right, what is that line? Like, there is no clear black and white, you know, 99,999,000. That's, again, it comes down to personal conviction. Well, one way to keep personal conviction is to have this kind of stuff happening. And so, I think I might be wrong, but in Forrest's original video about not going to the Doves, I think he did it also like he wanted a message, like he wanted to be an example. I think he said he wanted to be an example. Well, and clearly that's an example. I don't know, not clearly. Is it an example to the Christian music industry or an example to his Gen X, you know, his younger audience? And Gen Z, sorry.
Gen X is a bit older.
So, and I don't know if what his intent was. What would be a takeaway if you're not in this Christian music industry? Yeah. You know, what's the equivalent? You know, you get a promotion at your work, and do you say, "Oh no, I can't accept," you know, that 5-year award? I don't know. It's
I totally understand the premise that he's coming from, and I'm the same way. I'm a Christian kid. I grew up, you know, as a Christian kid. Like, I have these convictions as well of like when God has asked me to do something, I do it, right? Like, there's a small example is like, when I was growing up, cell phones were becoming really, really popular, right? Middle school, high school, like getting into high school. You know, I was really big in my youth group. I was very, very passionate about Christianity, right? But we had this Compassion International kid at youth that we would have to pay for. Like, the youth pastor wasn't going to pay for. Like, we had to come up with the money to like help give, resources every month. One month we were like really far behind. And so I told my mom, like, don't pay my prepaid cell phone. I'll just give up my cell phone for the month and I'll give it to this kid, right? And so for me, like, that was a conviction that I had. But I didn't go around to the youth group and tell everybody else, hey, you need to give up your cell phone
Are
as
you
well.
texting? Oh, Sonny can't eat.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if it's a personal conviction, then one, I would ask the same question that Eric asked, which is like, should this be a huge public thing that you need to announce?
Right.
Probably not, right? Probably just talk to the Dove Awards behind the scenes. Also, probably don't do it last second so that they have to rearrange everything, because that seems really rude to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I would be. It's like, if it's a personal conviction, cool. I'm great with that. You do that. But if you're trying to make it an implication for everybody else to act a certain way, then I might have an issue with that.
Now, if he makes it into a song, I'm going to have a big issue. If he starts to make money off of this, because he's made a song after every other thing.
Skip the doves. But no, I think just to wrap this conversation up, to me, it all comes down to honor. One word. How can I honor everyone in this situation? How can I honor God? How can I honor the personal conviction that I have? With your cell phone, you were honoring your other members in your youth group.
Sure.
You weren't making them feel ashamed or guilty or needing to change what they were doing. This was your personal conviction.
Yeah.
You made this decision. You were honoring God in it, but you were also honoring everyone else. And I think there was a better way to handle this, Forrest. And I think he could have. I hope that he learns from this, and that's my hope, is that we all can learn that whenever this kind of conviction comes up, how can we honor everyone as much as possible?
Yeah.
And I think you'll win more. I think that's the better way.
Yeah. And I love Forrest. I have agreed with pretty much everything that he's said in the past year or so, like all the things that have been going on. I've been kind of on board with him. I think there's been a lot of amazing things that have happened through it, like his relationship with Corey Asbury and what's happening there now. Corey Asbury coming out and being like, yo, I'm sorry for how I've acted,
Yeah.
Some of that stuff I think it's really healthy. I just, like, maybe it's just unhealthy in general for us to be like following this one person so closely in the Christian space too. But
yeah, maybe.
It's systemic of a celebrity culture, and we hang on to every word of people in influence, and that's bad on any level, and so.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have a little bit more to talk about.
To be continued.
Yeah, well, let me mention this, and then we'll close on, and then we'll go to the next kind of section. But I just had coffee with a prominent director, and he was like 1,000% on board with Forrest Frank, and I think it comes from some personal stuff as well, which I'd love to hear your insight about. Maybe this is a topic for another time, but maybe we could just mention it here. But he was like 1,000% on board with Forrest Frank. He's never met him before, never had any interaction with him, but was like, definitely like with this whole situation, I think like for sure Forrest is correct. He was on the side of like, if someone is complaining about it, they have a conviction, which like we talked about, I don't really agree with that. I think there's a middle ground here, like there almost always is, right? I think Forrest is probably wrong a little bit, but also like I understand what he's saying, and there's some truth to what he's saying. But he going past Forrest to like the Dove Awards in general, the guy that I was meeting with was saying like he doesn't go to Dove Awards anymore because he's seen a lot of the underbelly of like after parties and different things like that happen at the Dove Awards.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about that kind of stuff? Because he was saying like he used to work in LA and like do all this stuff in LA, and then like he would see all these parties and these different things happening. Then he went to the Dove Awards and he was surprised because it was like the exact same thing. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen the underbelly. I've gone to probably 15 Dove Awards over the years, and I've been to tons of. We didn't go to any after parties this year because we were tired and it went way long.
Yeah.
But you definitely see drinking. You definitely see people being human.
Yeah.
And stuff going on that you don't personally agree with. And I remember when I first accepted Christ at 23, I thought that, and I started working in the Christian music industry at 24, I thought it was going to be like church. And it is the Christian music industry is not church. It's not even in church. Church is totally imperfect as well. That's a whole nother thing, that we could talk about. Yes, okay, the Dove Awards, but what about things that happen in the church in general? Humans are going to be humans. People are going to be people, and there's always going to be. I think another episode we talked about 5% of people are always going to be that way.
Yeah,
and I think there's always going to be, unfortunately, fallen people that work in this industry. But there's people that are broken in every possible environment, church included. And I think there's definitely things that we can improve as an industry, but I will definitely say that it is so much better and more real and more faith-filled than it has ever been, to be honest. So I'll just say that in my personal observation.
Yeah, I don't think the award show causes the maybe hypocrisy that happens at the after party.
Yeah.
Like, it's an after party or it's just a party, and there's going to be people who are broken and may fall into doing whatever, drinking too much or whatever, and maybe that's because of the pride that they have after winning an award. Maybe, I don't know. I think those are two separate things. And to be able to associate an after party with, that's because it was the Dove Awards and we just put people on a podium. I don't know if that's fair. I would say though, for Forrest, if his conviction was to kind of change the industry, he maybe would have had more effect if he went there and was a light in places that he thought were dark. In the go to the after party and be the conviction there and go, this isn't cool.
And I'm not saying that's
totally.
I'm not saying that was his point either. But it was just interesting to me because I didn't know about any of that.
What Eric said, there's broken people and there's hypocrisy in the world, and this is not unique to the quote Christian music, Christian entertainment industry. It's everywhere. I think that we just inherently don't like hypocrisy. And when you have something labeled under the banner of Jesus and then you see things that mirror culture, it doesn't sit right, as it shouldn't. And
you're right. Yeah. It shouldn't. And I empathize with what that director was saying and how he's feeling. And I have lots of friends who have the same conviction about the industry, that were really hurt and broken by it. So I totally empathize and want to be in their corner, but I also think there's such great value in, like Matt said, and this is why Chrissy and I keep going, is we go to celebrate and honor other people. And whether we're nominated or not, we're not there just to receive, we're there to give, and we're there to pour into others. And I think we're called to be salt and light in those kinds of environments. So
and I think as Christians we're called to do that too. I think that's one of the arguments that has been made is we shouldn't be lifting each other up. We should only be lifting Jesus up, right? But we lift Jesus up through lifting each other up as well. The Bible talks about that all the time. So that for me is if I'm in my marriage, for example, if I'm in my marriage and I'm like, babe, you know how good Jesus is today? You need to do the dishes because Jesus is good today, and I'm not lifting her up and wanting to serve her and doing these things. I think that would make for a very bad marriage.
It's a great analogy. Yeah. It's so silly when you think about it that way.
Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, I love you guys. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you, man.
I love your businesses and your channels, and thank you for doing the podcast with me. I really appreciate
Celebrate
it.
you too.
Anyway, I've got an award for you next week. Don't worry.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Kind of moving on, we're going to talk about me and Matt just went to VidSummit. Eric wanted to be there, but unfortunately,
I had my own event that I was running, writing worship, and I scheduled it. That's my event. My AV company was running the AV for that event, but I scheduled a conference at the same time.
Just a mix up. It's all good. It's all good.
It's all right.
But if you guys don't know, VidSummit is essentially a large creator conference. So nothing to do with Christian creativity necessarily, but there are a lot of Christian creators that do go. And it's the biggest creator conference that I think is the most beneficial in the space. And I think the reason for that is because of who it attracts, right? And I've been to a lot of different YouTube conferences or meetups or different things like that. And almost always it attracts people that are they're either wanting to get into YouTube or they're just now starting or they're at like 200, 300 subscribers. They really don't know how to get further than that, right? And so they're really just kind of learning the basics of YouTube, essentially, is where I think the majority of people are at these different conferences. For example, I think like Grow with Video. This is Sean Cannell's conference. Very much like that. The people that are there, almost always the people that you're going to talk to are like very, very small in the space, or they're wanting to get into the space, they're not in it at all, right? Whereas VidSummit is like anywhere you sit, you could be sitting next to 1 million, 10 million. Like we were sitting next to a guy that runs several different channels. He runs this whole entire business where he like manages these channels now and just starts new channels all the time, right? So he's got, millions and millions and millions of views and subscribers like throughout all those different channels. Or like last time that I went, I sat down and I was talking to this girl, and her husband run this channel that's like a 3D modeling channel, right? And he's got like 4 million subscribers. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, this is so random. Like, channels you never would have heard of, but that they're massive. And so that's why I think it's really beneficial and valuable to go, because there are so many people there that are so good in their space and that actually know what they're talking about. So it's less about just like going to these sessions and like learning about these things, but it's more about the people that you meet. So Matt, you want to start us off?
Yeah, well, that's a perfect lead into like my key takeaway, honestly, was that the importance of in-person community, being able to have a conversation. Like some of the most valuable things I took away were face-to-face talking to someone and asking them questions that I had for my channel. And then hopefully I was able to reciprocate and give them ideas, and just like being in an atmosphere like that is incredible. The first day, I guess the second day technically, in the morning, Brandon and I went to a Bible study. So a guy put together just a meetup, and we did a Bible study, and that was just beautiful to be able to meet people who are doing a diverse range of YouTube channels. A travel channel, I think there was maybe a woodworking one, but all of Jesus. And that's actually kind of the inspiration behind our creator meetup here in Nashville. Was it's really fun to be able to come and talk shop about how to grow YouTube and thumbnails and all the different strategy, but then also know, hey, they share the faith, and we can also bring this to the Lord and pray for our creative endeavors and pray for each other. And so that was my biggest, not even takeaway, but just a refresher of how important community. And we've talked about wanting to do a GodMade conference, and that's my hope, is that yes, we want to have some great speakers and sessions, but let's be honest, a lot of that you can get online, you can get on demand. It's when you're in the hallway, it's when you sit next to someone, and who knows who the Holy Spirit's trying to hook you up with, and you build that you can bless and help, or vice versa, they can help you. But I'll go through. I put some notes, some of my key takeaways. One was, don't place a bet on borrowed money.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a really good, if you're starting off on YouTube, or maybe you're already going, but you want to, do something big and crazy, like don't go into debt doing this, the slow. And then that leads into the other takeaway. And I wish I could credit who said all these, but these are just highlights from throughout the whole week. Discipline is greater than motivation. And so that one just, motivation will fade, but you got to be disciplined, and it's a grind. You may be doing videos for a year or two and not getting the views that you think you want or you compare, but if you stay disciplined to it, that was the other key theme. Like the more people I talk to, they have there's no such thing as an overnight YouTube success.
Yeah.
That's the most common theme throughout. Like some people have maybe a further ahead starting point, whether you already worked in media or whatever, but it's generally it's 1 in a million where it's like, yeah, I just started YouTube and I'm crushing it. Like, no, it's a long haul. And so that's where that discipline is greater than motivation. Mozart is greater than Monet.
Yeah, this one was good. Yeah,
that was basically, so Monet, he was super self-critical, and he just did a few pieces, and he actually destroyed a bunch that would have worked. They said would have been worth millions today, but it's the same thing. Like, you'll do a video, I'm not going to release that. It's got to be perfect. Versus Mozart just was prolific and just kept on doing it. And the parallel is perfect with YouTube, as I've even just seen, being really intentional with YouTube over the past 4 or 5 months. The more videos I put out, the more I'm learning. The more YouTube is learning about my videos, thus I get more data and go, this topic or the way I edited this, you can start to get more signals and feedback. So just create more. Another big one that I loved was this idea of unreasonable hospitality. That's a book. This was the guy he works for Zach King, and he does all the brand deals for Zach King, and how they have taken and it's a very Christian mindset as far as we're going to work with these big name sponsors, huge, A-level brands that you've heard of, but we're going to serve them. Like we're going to go out of our way to make sure that they have an amazing experience on the set doing. I mean, it's like Hollywood level stuff that Zach King does.
Yeah.
He's the guy who does the trick videos, all this stuff. And so I just love that. I'm reading the book right now, so I'll probably have more to talk about that. But just that surprise and delight.
What's the book called again?
It's called Unreasonable Hospitality.
Okay.
And it's just, I think, a way that as Christians, we should live our life. Like when people come in touch with us, they should go, that was different. That was a different experience. And this book is not a Christian book by any means, but it's a very Christian principle of people should remember when they've encountered the Lord through us.
Like an example of that would be like for us, like when we have a guest coming here, we need to have something for them that is unique to them. Like I do this a lot with my interviews. So like if I'm interviewing someone, I like to have unique pieces of their life that nobody else has ever interviewed them about before, So like, for example, I interviewed Amanda Jenkins, Dallas's wife, at the first Chosen Con, right? And we had this moment where I just randomly brought out a blog post that she did like 10 years earlier, right? But it was a blog post that was from, have you ever heard of goodreads.com? Yeah. So she's obviously an author. She was on there way back then doing blog posts all the time. And I pull out this blog post that's super, super old. It's talking about the time when they shot The Two Thieves with Jonathan Rumi when he was playing Jesus on the cross. And it's the day that they were shooting that in this random quarry. I think it was in Chicago or whatever. And I just got to read out her words, to her on stage. And for her, it was like this really impactful moment of like, it almost made her like cry on stage because it was like such a reminder of what they're doing currently, but also like how she felt back then about how Dallas was working. And it was like right before all of his like failure stuff with the movie that failed and all that kind of stuff, and all of that was culminating, that at that time. And so for her to realize that, it was a moment of like, oh, Brandon took the time to really understand who I am and to like have this interview be special. So for us, like it's like if we do have a guest or whatever, it would be doing some of that for them, like extreme hospitality.
Yeah, I love that. And it kind of reminds me of this principle of surprising and delighting as well. But when we were doing Walker Stalkers, for every guest that we would have, we took the time to find out what their favorite music was, their favorite artist was, and then we would write a parody song for them that was just for them or about their character on the show.
That's awesome.
And they loved it. The fans loved it, and they put us. I even like sang a song with one of the guests because we were Music City, and so it kind of
it's the personal touch.
It was just a little personal touch, just that personal thing that you care, and it makes a huge impression on our guests, our celebrities.
I know we're sticking on this point, but I think it's interesting because Pat Flynn talks about this too, where he talks about this, what is it called? I don't remember the word, the nickname that he gave it, but he does this thing where he'll randomly go into his DMs and he'll just send people whole video messages. Where he just like, he doesn't have to do that, but he'll just go to the DMs and find someone random that's asking a question on his walks during the day. He'll just answer these questions like on video call as if he's just FaceTiming them or whatever. And it's just such an over-the-top thing that he doesn't need to do, but it really creates hardcore fans,
Humanizes something that's very impersonal. One last, the last thing I'm going to talk about. So John Uche, is that how you say it? Uche?
Yeah. Uche, something like that.
He's a he's got a YouTube channel, and he's worked at Instagram. He's worked at YouTube. Like the guy knows his stuff. And he's probably one of the best speakers as far as like
I think so.
Solid presentation. But I wrote down kind of his key takeaways. And so he talked about and this is like very practical and tactical for your YouTube channel. One, come up with one word that describes your channel. Like, can you? And you'll see there's kind of a trend here. Like it's YouTube is a quick. Everything now is like very attention spans are less and less. So we really have to get clear with what is our purpose, what's our why, and so what's one word to describe your YouTube channel? Second, visual anchors. So what are the visual things that you do in your videos that just when people see it, they go, oh, that's a GodMade episode, or that's a Chosen Sleuth episode, or whatever. And so visual anchors. Number 3, fix your first frame. So the importance of the very first frame of your video, so that when people watch, they know exactly what it is. And there's so much more I could go into this, but just again, it's realizing that people have infinite number of videos that they can choose from. Like, you've got to get their attention. And how are you? These are some ways to do that. And then the last one was identify and iterate trends. And then he said copy with taste. And the idea being that there's no original idea out there anymore. But we also don't want to just copy, which is also stealing. So when you see another idea, you take it, but you iterate it and you make it your own. And and that applies to, anybody creating. Like, we all have our own influences. And so it's just a matter of adding our own spin on it and making it better.
Yeah.
What would be the one word for GodMade?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I know. I was wrestling with that for my channel, for your channel, for GodMade, for Quiet Time, all the stuff. Like,
yeah. Divinitivity.
What? I can't even say it. Divinitivity.
You're making up a word.
Yeah, it's like divine creativity.
Okay.
I don't know what our word would be. I think for me it would be sleuth. Right? It kind of encapsulates everything that I do on my main channel. So sleuth is the one word. So if my videos don't encapsulate that sleuth message of, hey, I'm either showing you something new that is just now breaking, or I'm showing you something new that you've never seen before and couldn't have seen without my help. That is kind of the main word that I would say for Chosen Sleuth.
For Quiet Time, I would say peace, because I want to convey the peace of God and peace with my music and peace with the video, so that people can relate to it and experience peace.
Yeah.
That's kind of mine.
For my salty Christians, I've wrestled with it, but I think it would be unashamed. Like, I just want to feature people who are being unashamed for their faith. But maybe not. I don't know. There's like a boldness. I want it to be inspiring people. Like, there's so many different, one word is really hard. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, one word is really hard, but the examples that he used make a lot of sense, which is Mr. Beast, Ryan Trahan, and Arak. A lot of people reference these three as like the holy trinity of YouTube sort of thing. But Mr. Beast, of course, is spectacle. So the bigger that he can make it, the crazier that he can make it. That's his word, is spectacle. Ryan Trahan is very quirky. So like he's very down to earth. He'll do things like go raiding a hotel room, but the way that he'll do it is just very down to earth, quirky, and if it has that feel to it. So if it's not quirky, it's not really Ryan Trahan. Then Arak is like mischievous. I don't know if you've ever seen Arak stuff, but he's very much like, I snuck into the Super Bowl. I hid in this person's house.
Right.
Like he's been like hiding in people's streams lately. So like big streamers, he'll like go find like where they live and like get, be able to sneak in and like hide within their stream room and stuff like that. So like that's mischievous, right? It's not necessarily like his whole thing. Did you watch the John Roche interview that he did, by the way?
No.
So there's an interview out on John Roche's channel where he talks with Arak and talks about a bunch of different stuff. But when they're talking about this one word concept, he said, like, I don't want to be mischievous in a bad way. I don't want to be negatively mischievous.
Right.
So his word is mischief, but it needs to be a chaotic good. So it needs to be like, I'm doing these crazy things, and it's like, okay, it's a little bit on the line, but overall it's a positive message. Because previously, a lot of the videos that he would have done were mischievous, yes, but they were chaotic bad, meaning that like they were evil in nature. They would do things that were breaking the law, or doing things that were just like mistreating the audience in a way that wasn't correct. Right. And so he's learned a lot through the last year.
It's like what pranksters get a bad reputation for is it hurts people's feelings. And
the difference between like a punked, right, which is normally like a mundane prank, generally it's not anything that's crazy that's going to hurt you, versus like a prank that's like, oh, I just broke your leg, sort of like horrible thing.
There's ramifications.
Absolutely. So I love those points for sure. I think for me, it was much less about the sessions and much more about just spending time with people and talking with them, as many people as possible. So I got to talk to some really incredible creators, just walking around and seeing them. One of the great things about this conference for me is I watch a lot of YouTube. A lot for research, just to like, I'll watch random channels. Like Vanessa will always be like, hey, are these people we've watched before? Like, do you know them? I'm like, no, this is the first time I'm ever watching their channel, like all the time. Because I love to see, one, what is blowing up right now, how things work, and how the algorithm responds to new channels and things like that. But so I'm all over the place. I watch a lot of woodworking channels. I've never woodworked a day in my life, like I watch a bunch of like homesteading channels, or I'll watch a bunch of just like random crafting channels or different things like that, like just totally all over the place. So what's great about going to this conference is all of them are there, from all these different spheres, all these different niches. And so you end up having like these really solid creators that don't really know anybody, but they're showing up to this thing. And like, so you get the chance to talk to them. So one of the people we talked to, which you were there for me for this, right? We talked with Blacktail Studios.
Oh yeah.
Who is a major, he's got like 4 or 5 million subscribers on his main channel. He's a woodworking channel. But it was fun because I knew so much about his channel and about what he was doing that I was able to, make an impression, just talk to him. Right. And just hearing what he thought about, what he's doing. And like, I got to talk about my channel a little bit, and like, he was laughing because I don't think he's a Christian at all.
Right.
But he was like, because I was explaining my channel and telling him like, I'm basically like, you know how people like break down Marvel movies? I basically do that for the Bible. And he's like, yeah, because Marvel's way older than the Bible for sure. So he was like kind of laughing about the whole premise of my channel, but it was interesting to see his perspective on certain things. But like, I would have been able to talk to him if I hadn't known who he was. First of all,
you were relatable to him. Yeah. You took an interest in him, and it was natural for you to have that conversation.
And so having those conversations for me, I think, was the most beneficial. So like people that we know already, like Sean, for example, we had some great conversations with him.
He was there.
He was there. Yep. He's pretty big in the VidSummit space because he was in the very first cohort of Channel Jumpstart.
Yeah. He's
so
a big advocate for it.
He's known Daryl for a super long time, and all that kind of stuff. So had some really great conversations with him just about like brand deals, and he's maybe going to help me with some stuff behind the scenes, which will be really, really cool. And then like random connections, like Matt, randomly I ran up to him and he was talking to one of the girls who does the social media for Life Church.
That's right.
So like, YouVersion Bible app, all the Life Church stuff that they do for all the churches around the nation, like so much there. So it'd be very cool. Like I got her number. We're going to hopefully talk about maybe doing some stuff with her. So like that would be amazing. Not only for my channel, but maybe GodMade, maybe some other stuff in the future.
I actually
really
was
cool.
Texting her the other day, and I said, you guys should, at your church, open up your church walls and say, come on in, creators, and create a space.
Yeah.
We meet at your church.
Well,
and I think churches around America are a great place to have creatives come and encourage each other and grow their channels.
Oh, yeah. It's a great location, too. My wife writes with Life Church and writes a lot of their songs.
Oh, really?
Okay.
So we have a wonderful relationship with those guys on the worship team and the creative side.
You guys are holding out, man. Every time I talk to you, Matt, this is going to be my last point, was during our Christian Creatives group, we're talking to this guy and he's like, oh yeah, I have these channels with like less than 1,000 subscribers that make like $20K a month or something. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, how do you do that? He's like, oh, I work with these types of brands and like nonprofits and stuff. And Matt's like, oh, I have all these connections to all these things. And I'm like, dude, you haven't been helping me with this for the last year?
But I didn't put those two and two things together until that moment. I mean, literally, that's the value of like hearing other people's journey and story. Like we're talking about now getting guests on our podcast here, because I think there's so much value of hearing someone's story and journey, because we're all on different states of it. But when you hear someone else's, one, it can just encourage you, and two, it'll connect those dots in your mind of like, oh wait, I am prepared to do this, or let me go search that up. I'll let you know when I get you that sponsorship, by the way.
Let me know, because I think there's so much potential now. Since going through this conference, like meeting the people that I met, God was just definitely like weaving this line of like, here's what you need to do, here's where we need to go. And I think if I could lean into that, if I could get into that world, I think it would change everything for sure.
It opens up, going to an event like this opens up so many possibilities.
It opens your mind up too of how big the creator economy is. YouTube, I mean, you're meeting people in all these just super interesting niches, and they're making full-time living doing it. So I dare you to go to VidSummit and not come away going, oh, I want to do a YouTube channel. Because you see all these, obviously you meet some who are just starting and haven't made it yet, but there's so many who have doing something that they're passionate about and are willing to put in the time. Like, again, this is not a get rich quick, like get a YouTube channel, do a course, and all of a sudden you're making 6 figures, passive income. No, you're putting in some good work. Like there is a lot. But if you love creativity and you are willing to put in some time, like this is an exciting place to be.
It is.
Yeah. Like I'm waiting for us to hit 30 subscribers, like I'm just like,
we're at 29 right now, right?
I think so, yeah. But like for me, it's like I don't mind. Like we talked about this before. Like I don't mind that our biggest video before was like 56 views. Now it's not. Now it's more. Now it's 120 views, right? And that will continue. Like
20 of those were mine.
But we'll continue, right? And I think at some point, like, we will break through, right? Like this episode, for example, is a good episode because I think what I'll probably do is I will put this episode out tomorrow. Because I think our other episodes are a little bit more evergreen. So like a strategy for us is like this episode is way more like it's like kind of now. Like we just went to VidSummit. It makes sense. We're Forrest Frank stuff just happened. So like that is way more likely to gain traction on YouTube than at least for YouTube. I don't know about audio if it's the same, but
no. I mean, I think it'd be timely to put it out now on audio too. They mimic each other quite a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I totally support that 100%.
So like things like that I think about. But anyway, going back to VidSummit, there's just so much that we learned through it. I'm putting together a whole notes section. My wife came with me, which is like we were talking about earlier, like my stenographer. Like she's like sitting there, she's writing out so many notes and such good stuff that I'm gonna put together a whole document. I'm gonna get all of Matt's notes, hopefully, all of my wife's notes, and then all of someone else's notes as well, because there's a bunch of breakout sessions that we probably missed. And I'm gonna try to put all those together for a resource for you guys. I don't know if it'll be up by the time this video goes up, but we'll get all that together for you guys so you can have a huge document of notes from VidSummit so that you can go and see all that stuff, because there's some really, really good stuff in there from the sessions. But I think more than anything, you should go to an event like this. You should come to our GodMade conference in order just to meet people, in order to get your foot in the door for the music space or the YouTube space or whatever else. I think that is the key, 100%. Because think about us, right? We met for the first time, the three of us at VidSummit. Obviously, me and Matt had met before, but he introduced me to you, and then beyond that, we've gotten so many different relationships through our connecting in person, right? With all the people that come to our group and just the different emails that we're getting now of people that are launching things or wanting help with certain things or, all of that I think is indicative of how important meeting in person is and having those personal connections, because online is great. I have a lot of online friends, but like for example, my friend Brandon Robbins, he runs a channel, he lives in Virginia, but we don't really get to see each other that often during the year. But every time that we do, like I told him in 2024, I was like, you are coming to VidSummit in 2025 so that we can hang out and talk and, strategize. And because I want him to succeed as much as possible. And he wants the same for me. Right. And so for him, like he's got a bigger channel than I do for sure. He's got like 330,000 subscribers. Right.
Wow.
Pretty big channel, talks about biblical topics. And like for him, it was really cool to meet other Christian creators, but it was also just great for him to have the space to like not have to worry about his church for a minute because he's a pastor, not have to worry about his kids for a minute because he's they're with his parents and stuff, but being able to focus fully on this is like it's a really hard thing to do when you're at home and you have 1,000 other things to do. So anyway.
I would say I probably have more notes of just ideas that were inspired by being in the room or being around people than actual notes from the speakers. And that's not a slam on the speakers. It's just that my mind was like boom, 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 because I was in this atmosphere for 2 days, 2 to 3 days, undistracted by, I was still doing some work back home and, family. But for the most part, you're just in a great space to be extra creative and think about your YouTube channel and what you're working on.
Yeah.
In essence, it's just a place to play. And if we're playing and we can just feel for the freedom to kind of be kids again in some ways, because I think it stimulates something in us when we go to events like that. And maybe we're just wired like that, but just getting around other people, realizing the possibilities, playing around with what possibilities might be for the channel, how it could apply, and it gives you a chance to focus. So I think it's a great event, and I'm glad you guys got to go. I'm so jealous.
Next year.
Next year, you have to do a guide on how to get the most out of those hallway conversations.
Oh yeah,
because I think there's some practical things we could talk to, because there's some people who are shy and others who are outgoing
do a Dale Carnegie special.
On
how to talk to people. In social situations.
Because that is huge value, is to be able to just insert yourself into conversations and how to do it the right way and not be the desperate person who's just trying to get. Like, how are you also blessing others and stuff?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing that's going to shape me in the future, because like I've got a retreat in December. It's a very small retreat that I'm putting together for around, I think we have about 11 people total that are going to be there. And so at the retreat, like one of the main things I want to talk about is like you are not here to just get,
Yep.
right? Like the purpose why I invited all the people that are coming to the retreat is because there's something that you have that I want you to give to the rest of the group,
Yep.
right? And in doing that, you'll receive 10 times more than you would have if you're just trying to grab the whole time. So I think that has really shaped the future of what I think about for that retreat and also for our conference next year in order to be like, how can we create an environment that it forces people to just give instead of just wanting to receive the whole time. You know?
Well, I like the way you're approaching it because you're already planting a lot of seeds in me as someone who's going to be speaking, and I'm sure for you too, Matt, is just I'm already more excited about the event. You've already set the stage for me. I'm supposed to give here.
Yeah.
This is not just about showing up, and you know you're going to miss out if you're not preparing these people ahead of time.
Yeah.
So. And I think smaller is better than something huge.
Yeah.
Our ego might want something huge, but
that's true. That's
I think the value that you're going to get from a smaller event is just way better.
That's true. So maybe GodMade retreats would be better than that. Maybe this is the beta for that.
Are we not going to give awards away at these events?
Oh yeah,
we definitely should.
Definitely,
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should.
I want to give myself an award.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
In fact, I will.